Are you living your passion? What is your passion? Welcome to the Luxe Life Discovered podcast, where we talk with people who are living a lifestyle that reflects their passion, because we believe everyone should enjoy living their best life, their Luxe life.
Hello, I'm Rick Steiner. Welcome to another episode of Luxe Life Discovered. And today our guest is Max Sisk, and we're glad to have you with us today, Max.
Awesome. I'm glad to be here, Rick. Thanks for having me.
Good. And also, don't
forget me.
Shannon Richmond, and my co-host, who's here as well.
With
Great to have you.
Panama City Beach Chamber.
That's true, yeah.
Thank you, Rick. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, good. So, Max, let's talk about, you're part of a group called Rise Up Kings.
That's correct.
Give us a little background on that organization.
So basically what Rise Up Kings is it's an organization that's meant to help Christian businessmen and CEOs live life to their fullest potential. And that includes like maximizing their relationship with Christ, their relationship with their families, how they take care of their bodies, and also how we basically conduct our business. Are we doing these things in a way that maximizes how other people see God through us? And so that's a big part of what we do and why we're doing it. So.
Okay, and how did you get involved with this particular organization?
Yeah, so I got involved with them. So part of the transition for me was a big part of me discovering what I really wanted out of life. Mm-hmm. And so I was working as a W-2 employee doing maintenance. Basically, things were going okay there. But I basically had my ladder stacked on a building I didn't really want to get to the top of. And I was like, this isn't working. So
it's a good way to phrase that.
That was a good way.
I like that.
Yeah. So I was like, something's got to give. I saw an ad on YouTube for sales and coaching training. And then they sold me on their program. So I got into it and I was like, okay, these guys sold me on something I didn't know I really needed. So I'm going to try it. And then I did that. And then like they actually set me up with Rise Up Kings. And we were just in such alignment with what we wanted, like what they're doing and what I care about. We're just in such alignment. It was a great match. And so that's how I got paired with them and started working with Skylar Lewis and really just been growing ever since then.
Okay, so your involvement with them, what's your actual like role with them right now then? How would they identify you with Rise Up Kings?
They would identify me as a coach and somebody in sales.
Okay.
So I work on their sales team, and basically whenever anybody comes into our ecosystem online or through Facebook or calls in or a referral, they would basically go through a vetting process. And that would start with me like qualifying them, making sure they're a good fit for the program. And then from there, it just, kind of differentiating the different ways that it could go for them based on the programs that we offer.
So this would be people that are looking for a change, or like how would the interest come, I guess, for people to reach out to you, if that makes sense?
Yeah, no, it does. So a lot of different ways, because we don't only help people that are like at the last end of the rope,
Right.
We help guys that are really like stratospherically successful. We work with guys that run $100 million companies and just want to be better. They want to pursue God better. They want to be a better husband and father. And they know that there's more of them available. We also help guys that are, going through divorces, that are struggling with addiction, guys that just like have suicidal thoughts. We talked to several guys just yesterday that mentioned that that's what they were going through at that time. And we made a safe place for them that they can share with like-minded men, like, hey, this is what I'm going through.
Right. Kind of let them be real. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you're not able to be real, you're not really able to get healing.
That's true. Yeah.
And so that's kind of the idea. We want to facilitate and foster that kind of environment for guys.
How do people find out about you?
So right now we have YouTube ads. We're on Facebook. We have a social media presence. We also have we're a nationwide network of guys. At this point, we're a little over 200 guys that are involved in a mastermind program. And we're trying to tell people about what we do.
That's amazing. I think that's an awesome program, and I think all guys need it to some level. Mm-hmm. And just to be able to find you and hear that, hey, we're here to make a safe place for you, and to have something to talk about is really awesome.
Right. I like the fact that it's not just people at their last ditch effort. It's people of different levels and social standings and everything that just want to better themselves.
It is, and that's a huge thing, because we have some people, like, I'll talk to some guys, with a little bit of an ego issue, and they'll be like, well, I'm doing pretty awesome, and I'm like, okay, cool, man. Like, sounds like you got it all figured out, so good for you, man. Do you know where we're at if things change? And you want that accountability, and you want that environment, and you want a program that's going to help you, systematically and strategically prioritize and track and implement systems that are going to help you take the things that you're doing to the next level. So if we're talking about your business, what's the one thing you need to do? How are you going to break that and chunk that down into measurable goals that instead of a to-do list, you have a result-driven process? That way it's not just busy, it's productive.
How do you guys meet, and how do you keep accountability, and how do you, judge your success?
So, well, that's a really good question. It's kind of hard to answer because every man is in a different spot.
Correct.
So for some guys, it's as simple as basically checking a box. It's as simple as starting a habit. It's as simple as saying, honestly, like, I didn't do that habit today, and what's holding me back? For other guys, it's taking it to the next level. Some guys do 45-minute intense workouts or training for a marathon, So it's like, for everybody it's different, but the goal is, like, if we can do 1% better consistently, that's great. And so you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to move a mountain to say you're successful. The goal is to build confidence through repetitive action in the same direction. If you can do that, it'll change the way you see yourself and the way that you see every day and the challenges that are ahead of you.
Wow. So it kind of challenges you every day.
It does.
To be a better you.
It does.
And people that are really driven, successful, or just trying to get that first step toward a goal, most people like those challenges. They like to have that organization to follow, to kind of, I'm a check mark person, put it on the list and check it off. So
This episode of Luxe Life Discovered is brought to you in part by Steiner Event Group. Steiner Event Group is a national event planner that produces results for their clients. They offer event and wedding planning on any scale, hosting bridal shows, scouting talented models, and producing riveting concept photo shoots to help their clients expand their brands, products, and services. Whether you're a business professional aiming to take your brand to the next level, planning a corporate or private event, a bride seeking to have the wedding of your dreams, or a model ready to be discovered, Steiner Event Group is ready for you.
So now, Jason was showing me the website before you came in today. Tell me about the boot camp. That looks pretty intense, and you've done that, right?
Yeah, I did actually.
Oh, I want to hear about this.
So it was very intense. It was very challenging. I was working with them in their sales and coaching before I went to the event, but I went to the event for a couple reasons. One was not just for assessment, but for personal development. Like, it was something that truly benefited me on a deep emotional and spiritual level. And so I went there, and within about 30 minutes, I realized, holy cow, what did I get myself into? It didn't take long at all. I was like, this is like, there's this guy, Sarge, he's there. He's like, special forces, actively doing things in the military. So it's like, this is the real deal.
You knew you weren't there to have just a little chit chat. They meant business.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, no matter who you are, like Rick, Shannon, we don't have women come out to the Rise Up Kings event. We do have a Rise Up Queens program, which is different, but really awesome. It's very different, but it's awesome. So Sarge, by the time we get there, and Sarge is like yelling at us, and he's like, "This is a war." He's telling us, like, you're in a war, and it's so easy to get complacent. Right. And bogged down with the to-dos and just ingratitude and all kinds of stuff. But really what's important is we're actually here on a mission by God to steward our lives and our souls and help other people get to a healthier place and to get to know Jesus. Right. And if we don't acknowledge that we're in that battle, which so many of us get into that place, we're already losing.
Right, and I'm guilty of being complacent in that area a lot And it's just like you get to a point where you're comfortable, you're coasting, and kind of the guard goes down, and that's when
That's when the devil sneaks right on in.
And we kind of provide the opportunity without realizing it.
Yeah.
So we're not challenging ourselves. And I mean, maybe I need to go to the boot camp.
Well,
I think my wife
would he make it?
No, I was going to say I probably wouldn't. That's my fear. Yeah.
The thing isn't like, so a lot of guys will try. I tried to game the system by like, okay, I'm going to implement an exercise regimen before I go so they can't break me. Well, I mean, let's just be honest. That's not me. I'm not that guy. I was in the pod with a world-class triathlete, second in the world with the Ironman triathlon.
Wow.
At one point, he was like one of the top 5 fittest people in the planet.
And you're like, I'm in trouble.
Yeah. And so like the metric that we have to measure ourselves by isn't like, am I better than him? It's, am I doing the best that I can do?
Right.
And the program's created to push every man to their specific breaking point, to show them and get them to a place of, oh man, there's more of me, and also I can dig deeper, I can do more. If I can put up with this, I can sure show up better at home.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
If I can, you know what I mean? If I can get beat like this and go through this struggle just to learn more about myself whenever I go home, I can have a better attitude towards my wife and kids, and that's a lot of what it's geared towards.
How long does boot camp last?
It's 3 days.
3 intense days, huh?
3 intense days. 3 very long days.
5 years.
So
it just
flies
seems
by,
like,
it flies by.
Yeah.
By the end, by the end of the second day, I was ready to come home and start working.
What you learned.
Already looking ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then at the end of the third day, I was like, I drove back from Dallas I was ready to go do some more sugar cookies on the beach when I got home. Like I was just so pumped up.
Right.
Like I'm going to take this and I'm going to run with it. Yeah. And it was just incredible.
Is it held in Dallas all the time, the boot camp, and how often is it held?
Right now, it is held in Dallas right now.
Okay.
We have events typically at least one a month.
Okay.
Wow.
If we have more guys coming, we typically have somewhere between 10 and 20 guys. So we'd like to have like 15 to 20 guys.
That's nice. So you get a lot of one-on-one.
You do.
And you don't get mixed up in the crowd.
Right.
That's
Exactly.
nice.
Yeah, so you're not really like in big enough a group that you're slipping through the cracks. Your personality traits and character defects.
You can't hide in the background.
You can't hide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dang it. I knew what you were thinking.
Yeah. It's small enough you can't hide. But it's also big enough that there's some real depth of relationship. There's somebody there. Like God has put everybody in that specific time and place for a specific reason. Like when I went through, there was definitely a common theme. Whenever we were sharing some of the deep stuff, like there were common themes in our small group. And so we all walked away with this like huge feeling of like, God totally did this.
Yeah.
Like he put us all here for each other to go through.
Wasn't
this
an
together.
accident.
Not at all.
No.
Not at all.
And
it
it's
was
amazing to be able to open up in front of people with similar stories or that common thread, and just a relief that is, because guys are, we want to keep it all to ourselves, and we can do it on our own. That mentality.
Absolutely. And the group of guys, the demographic that we typically serve is CEOs, Christian CEOs and businessmen. And so not only do you have like really high performers and really strong personalities, you also have very, very lonely patriarchs. They can't go to church and talk to people about
because they're that big businessman.
Yeah.
Well, they'll be seen as weak, or they'll be judged as being, their status or being ego inflated because they're dealing with higher money problems.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So people will be like, yeah.
I didn't think about that.
So they don't have that a lot of times. They don't have the opportunity to be that candid with people in their church community.
Sure.
And so this is a really great opportunity for guys that are, fall in that demographic that want to really, really prioritize, relationships with men they can relate to and be sharpened by and challenged by. And then also, it's God is the thing that brings it together. Business is a common thing that helps us be together.
Right.
But God is the main thing. And that faith that brings us together to begin with. is the foundation for everything else that we go through there.
Wow.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome.
so all the guys that you go to boot camp with, then do you guys stay in contact? Do you keep in touch? Is that your group then? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we've got, it's called a pod. Every group that goes through is a pod, where we've had 21 pods now.
Wow.
And this is March. of
When did you guys
2022.
start?
So I think Skylar started in 2020.
So wow,
What a-
21 pods
that's
already.
really good.
especially during COVID and all that too. So,
Well, it's
yeah.
a much needed resource that
Absolutely.
people didn't know that they had, or they can lean on. How nice
Definitely.
is that to know you could do you pick up the phone and just call?
Yeah, I call people all day. So basically what
But
they
like
do is
from your pod though.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
We've got a Slack channel. Like we're all
What's
part
a
of the
Slack
mastermind.
channel?
Slack is an app. It's like a communications app where we get together and we talk about. We have a channel for fitness. We've got a channel for faith. We got a channel for family.
I'm going to have
And
to
it's
delete the
like-
fitness one.
Yeah. This is for the mastermind guys.
Right.
So guys that have gone through the 3-day event and then decide, hey, look, I want to maintain this. I want to keep the
Yeah.
momentum up. I know I can't do it alone. I really want to be a part of this big picture.
Right.
They have the option to be part of the mastermind, and that's where the main group, the main cluster of guys that are really prioritizing implementing what they've learned over a long period of time are going to be found at.
That's
Wow.
interesting. I never.
So
knew
when
all
you
that
went to
stuff.
the boot camp, you started here. How do you feel you've come, and has it stuck?
That's a great question. So when I went to the boot camp, like obviously there were things that I thought I was doing well. There were things that I knew I wasn't doing well.
Right.
When I went to the boot camp, the things that God wanted to show me I was doing well and not doing well were the things that got shifted.
Wow.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So I could change all day the things that I'm like, yeah, I got this. I need to improve on this. And then this is bad. I need to work on this. But whenever things got real and like God was like, no, this is what I got my finger on. Then it started to be like, oh, that's what I need to work on. So spending all my time and energy focused on work isn't necessarily the most productive thing I can do with this life.
Isn't it
okay.
amazing when God shows us things we're just like, gosh, that's so simple. Why didn't we think of that? And
Yeah.
all the energy and effort that we put into other things that we think can make us great.
Yeah.
God's probably thinking, really? Okay, you just waste your time. I'll show you soon. That type
Yeah.
of thing. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it was really cool. He allows us all to get brought to this uncomfortable place of
That's where the growth happens, though.
Yeah.
Being uncomfortable.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing is like we get so comfortable so easily. And we don't want to come out of that. It's like we work really hard. We have, we live in the greatest country on earth, and we have all of these things that we're just, so many of us are really born with. And we all start somewhere different, but we're blessed.
Right.
And so it's really easy for us to just say, oh, well, I've come to a good spot. I think I'll rest here for a while.
Right.
When in fact, like, that's just bad stewardship.
Yeah. It goes back to what I was
Wow.
saying earlier about me being complacent, how wrong that is. And you get there and sometimes you don't realize it, and then all of a sudden something happens and you're like, oh, wait. I can't do this. Yeah.
This episode of Luxe Life Discovered is brought to you in part by Orville's Men's Store. Thank you, Orville's Men's Store, for supplying the men's clothing for today's podcast. For the absolute best in casual and dress wear for men, visit orvillesms.com. That's ORVILLESMS.com.
So that's all interesting. And I'm going to do a lot more research on Rise Up Kings
Check it
because
out.
that's a great, just briefly when I saw the website before you came in and then hear your story, I mean, that's awesome. Give us a little background about you and how you got to the point to where Rise Up Kings even came into existence for you.
Yeah, so that's thank you for the opportunity to share that. So, my story, if I were to sum it up, I had a very so growing up, my dad was in the military. He was in the Army, so he was back and forth a lot, but he took care of us. I wish I had seen him more and been around him more because he was like my hero. So there was a lot of stuff that we had. We had everything that we needed. There were some things that we wanted, but we were okay. My parents took good care of me. I did well in school because they helped me prioritize education early on. And, like I said, had everything I needed, most of what I wanted.
Right.
As time went by, I ended up, we moved around a lot. So I learned some skills and personality traits through, shifting so much. Like, hey, I need to learn to adapt. I need to learn how to not get so attached, and there were things that I learned through that. But we ended up, long story short, once I'm in high school, my parents got a divorce. So I come home from school one day and my parents say, or my dad, he comes and meets me in the driveway. I come up in my new truck, like in my 92 S10 and, thinking everything's right with the world.
Right.
And he comes out to me crying. And this is one of the first times I've seen my dad cry in my whole life. Like we've said bye to each other in airports, knowing it was going to be a year before we saw each other again. And I've never seen him cry before. So he comes out to me and he's crying and he's like, and I love my dad. We're good. We're good now, by the way. But like whenever this happened, he's telling me, hey, your mom and I are getting a divorce. And I'm 16.
And you have no clue this is even coming. Yeah.
No. I mean, they've had things happen, but it was like, I had no idea it was like that. And so he's crying to me. Your mom and I are getting a divorce. I can't really explain it all. Will you take me to the store to get a case of beer? And so I'm like,
wait.
Yeah, sure, Dad, whatever you ask.
Get in my new truck.
Let's go back to the other part. Yeah. So yeah.
But then in retrospect, whenever I look back and I see that situation, what I realize is I had a bright future, and I was working really hard towards a lot of things. We're building towards that. I was in lots of clubs, in ROTC, leading, I had a great GPA. And then that happened. And in my mind, like a couple of lies took place. One of them was that love isn't real, right? Because I saw my parents work towards building a family for all those years, and then poof, just one day, it's just, oh well, that was a big waste, you know. So that was in my mind. And then the second thing that came into my mind was when a man is in pain, he medicates, right? And so
hadn't thought about
yeah. And so those lies came into my life at that age. So it was a pivotal age. And so I started, the experimenting I was doing with drugs and alcohol became a coping mechanism. And then it became an addiction and a preoccupation. And so basically by the time I was out of high school, I'd already been struggling with alcoholism, addiction. I smoked weed all the time. I barely graduated high school. I went from like a 4.2 to a 1.7.
Yeah.
So things went downhill really fast for me. So things escalated after high school. About 10 years later, at that point, I was using heroin. I was an intravenous heroin user. I had been for 3+ years. I was going to the methadone clinic.
Boy, that swirled fast, didn't it?
It did. For some people, it's a little bit faster than others. For me, I was like a slow leak. 10 years is a long time to go down that spiral, but it felt like an eternity. And so I was going through that process, and I was like, this sucks, man. I was like suicidal. I was like depressed. I had been telling my younger sister, because we did drugs together, both of us actually. I had 2 younger sisters, and we partied together. And my youngest sister, she was like 17 or 18 at the time that I was using like this, and I was suicidal. And I was like, you know what? I'm tired. If things don't get better, like I was homeless, like riding my bike around everywhere. And she was hanging out with me because she loved me, And I was like, Crystal, I'm tired of this. If life doesn't get better, I'm just going to end it. This was stuff that as a big brother, I was telling my little sister.
Which is heavy for her.
Yeah.
At 17, yeah.
It's heavy for her. And then lo and behold, things continue down that path. I managed to hold on for dear life, had a baby with my ex. So he was like, I'll stop doing drugs whenever he comes out. Right. Well, that didn't happen. But before the baby came, years before the baby came, and shortly after that conversation my sister and I were having, she actually took her own life. Oh. So she committed suicide while she was still in active addiction. And really that just kind of spiraled everything even farther.
Yeah.
So I got really bad in addiction, and I went and got help for that. And that low point in my life, like I had tried everything else. And so the people that I talked to and the law enforcement officers that wanted to help me, they were like, they connected me with a program in South Carolina called Evans Training Center. And they said, does the name Jesus Christ offend you? And I was like, well, I mean, at this point, no, there's not really a whole lot that offends me anymore because I'm dying.
Right.
You know, so, and the conversation, like I was much more broken than that in the conversation, but that was the gist of it, that was I willing to do whatever it takes? Because I was dying. My 18-month-old baby was probably going to lose his dad if I didn't do something different. And I realized like I have to do something. So they said, this is an 8-month program. You can't invite your girlfriend over at all. You know, are you willing to do that? And I was like, well, like if I don't, I'm going to die. Like, so I was like, I have to do
I'm glad
this.
you knew that part.
Yeah. And that was all that was really all I knew. Yeah. And he didn't. And they loved me and they really tried to talk me out of it. You know, they're like, I don't think you're ready. I was like, oh, I beg to differ. Like, I'm ready. I need to go.
Well, they want to make sure your level of commitment was there because that's a lot of resources and time and that's invested in that. So,
absolutely. Yeah. And they love me through a process. Like they put up with a lot of really bad attitudes and behavior in me for quite some time in order to help me overcome the hump of the chemical addiction.
Right.
And then also they discipled me and showing me like, hey, the reason that you felt so empty for so long is because you never pursued God. You never invited him into your life. And whenever that became apparent to me and he became real to me, then I realized,
I'm in trouble. I better do. I got hope.
I've got hope.
That's right.
And also I've got a responsibility because he gave me he allowed me to go through a certain number of trials and experiences
for a reason.
For a reason.
Yeah.
And that reason was to help other people down the road. And so ever since I went through that program and went through those struggles, my heart has been to find ways to come alongside or go on my own and help other people that are going through similar situations, whether it's, you know, depressing thoughts or struggles with addiction or people just beat themselves up sometimes.
Yeah.
And if I could just encourage them or challenge them to grow or tell them something that like they might not have heard. They might not have anybody in their corner saying, hey dude, you're a valuable person.
True.
God loves you and he made you for a purpose.
Right.
And that I believe is my purpose.
Wow.
Is showing people
That's
like,
awesome.
Isn't it amazing though? Because like you said, we live in a country where we have everything, and you know, you can argue back and forth who's more privileged than whom and all that good stuff, but we're all privileged to
Absolutely.
a point. I don't care who you are. To be born in America.
It's called first world problems.
Yeah, it is. You're right.
We're not looking behind us to see if we're going to get eaten while we're trying to get water for our cereal or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to believe that we live in a society that kind of shames us for wanting to voice our fears, our opinions. And we, as guys especially, we feel like that's not a manly thing to do. You run into that as well with people you talk with. That.
So some guys they feel bottled up. They've been constrained for so long. You know, like even me. Like I'm on this journey of finding out like what is my ideal, what is my purpose, and how do I focus and funnel that. And some of these guys are just checking the boxes.
Right.
They're just going through the motions. They're just trying to increase their revenue. You know, they're putting on all these hats and facades to try and cover up like what's the point?
Yeah.
You know, meanwhile on the inside they're miserable, they're unhappy, their marriages are falling apart, they're sedating and social media and pornography or whatever the case may be, and saying, look, I don't know what to do. I don't know which way is up. Yeah. And you know,
wow.
so that's one side of the spectrum. And you know, the guys that are really successful, you know, they have the same They got the same issues.
Yeah.
And part of what I learned personally while I was there, because I was next to like incredibly high performers. Or I mean, we're talking about, like I said before, like world-class athletes, guys that do hundreds of millions in business every year, CEOs with 300 employees, and they're accomplishing things at such a high level that they're international names. And I'm like,
but what a relief that they have a place to go and do that in a safe zone.
And then you also realize too, hey, these people at their level, they're still having issues that are common to me. You know what I'm saying? So yeah,
that was some of the biggest insight that God put in me during that experience, because He's not a respecter of persons.
right.
And so the self-loathing and self-condemnation and comparison and imposter syndrome and things that I deal with because I know how imperfect I am, he helped me through being next to these guys and showing me, hey, little old you, as you like to see yourself, actually has something of value to offer these guys.
Yeah.
Likewise, they have something of value to offer you.
Right.
And that's the power of the body, that we all realize that like we all have different gifts, talents, abilities, perspectives, and experiences that contribute to other people. And that paired with the power of the Holy Spirit coming upon you to give you words to speak somebody, to encourage somebody, or to empower somebody. When those things work in tandem, like we're
And happy ending. Let's end this on a really happy. Now he's happily married, new baby.
Yes.
Great job. So look what you've done just by trusting in God.
Yeah, and that's the big picture.
Yeah.
Look what He's done.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I like that.
What He's done,
Perfect.
because you don't take a mess like I was in and turn it around like this, and not recognize that He played the role.
That's
He
right.
did
Right.
that. He made the connections. He put all the pieces in place along the way, and He's still working something that I really have no idea what it's going to play out to be later.
Well, it's what you said earlier before we started the podcast. You're not at the end of your journey, you're in the middle.
Absolutely.
And you're still going. So good.
Awesome. That's
we have
a great
enjoyed
story.
having you so much
Absolutely.
today. And I feel like we probably need to have you back another time and just kind of pick up and discuss some more. But
I'd
it's
love
amazing how 30
That's
minutes
accountability, by the way.
Right.
Receive. Let's take a look at it.
All right. Well, good deal. Well, that concludes our episode of Luxe Life Discovered today, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and want to support our show, leave us a review. That's the #1 way to help this show reach others just like you. Join us next time for another Luxe Life Discovered.